Good day and welcome to our program, The Church and the Poor. My name is Father Hayden of the Missionaries of the Poor, and today we have a panel of visitors from 3 big cities of America. We have Ronald Rivers from Detroit.
Detroit, that's right.
Carol Skyper from Chicago, and Jim Rainford from Atlanta.
Correct.
So how did you all meet? Jim?
Well, I met Carol and Ron down here when we arrived. Their part came down at the same group. We came down from Atlanta. They came down from both Chicago and Detroit. And we met here. We just seemed to be overlapping on the same week.
Right, right. And what brought you down here, Jim? Your first time to Jamaica and to Missionaries of the Poor?
No, Father. This is my 5th trip down. And I will admit, the first time I came down here, I was scared to death. And that lady over there in the first row put her arm around me in Bethlehem and put her arm around me and said, I know exactly what you're thinking. You're scared to death. Well, an hour later, you couldn't get me out of the place.
She worked a miracle.
She worked a miracle.
Yes.
And I can't wait to come back down each year.
Right.
It's been a joy to come down and to do what little we do and try to help out the brothers who have, in my opinion, do an absolutely fantastic
Jim,
job.
tell us what you do. Tell us what you do at the centers.
What I do at the centers, well, it depends upon what center I go to. I've been to Lord's Place, and we helped a lot of the ladies over there, and we applied lotion, we clipped nails, we nail polished, we scrubbed floors, we swept floors, mopped floors, and just hung out with the ladies and made them feel like, you know, that they were wanted.
Lord's Place has a section of people with AIDS.
Yes, they do.
Have you worked in there?
Yes, I have.
And how was that? Or how has that been?
Well, the first time I went in there a few years back, I was a little nervous, but I have no problems walking in there now, talking to any of them, and getting involved, playing games with them.
Yes.
But I have no problem whatsoever and enjoy it. There's a few people in there that I enjoy seeing from year to year. And it's fun when you go to one of the centers and somebody comes up to you and says, "You've been here before." And I happen to wear a golf hat. And he said, "You've got gray hair." And I took my hat off and I got gray hair. So he remembers me.
You.
Yeah, and you know, there's a group of them that, you know, I have seen, you know, for the last 5 years. And they sort of, you know, get to know you.
Right.
There's a little girl over at Bethlehem that I've fallen in love with, and I look forward to seeing her every year.
Yes, wonderful, Jim. Carol, do you share similar sentiments?
Yes, in fact, this is my first time
First
here.
time.
In fact, this is something I wanted to do for the past 3 years, to go on a mission. And it was a matter of what could fit in my life. And last summer, I was considering going on a mission through the diocese. But one of your priests was at our parish.
Father Brian?
No, it was Father Vicente.
Vicente.
Yes,
okay.
he was. And he did the homily, and he talked about MOP, and I thought, So I was considering that. And then after Mass in the Narthex, I was talking to a friend of mine who said, you should go to talk to Father Vicente some more about the mission. A friend of mine strongly recommended it. So I did, and that was it.
But that was 3 years ago.
No, that was just this last summer.
No.
Last summer.
3 years you started thinking about it.
Yes, right, a mission, doing a mission.
Right.
And that was it. That
How has it been so far here?
it has been terrific. And in fact, one of my good friends also accompanied me too.
Right,
Wanted
we'll
do
talk to
this.
her later on.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
she's been with you, and you have a team, 3 of you.
No,
Just
no,
two of
they're
you.
we're just 2 of us
Two
just
of you.
came on our own.
Right.
Came here on Sunday,
Mhm.
and it's been terrific. I can't tell you, I mean, words can't describe how the love I feel
Mhm.
caring for these individuals,
Mhm.
whether they're adults, children, anywhere. And of course, with the children, I mean, you feel total joy too.
Mm.
Total joy you get, and it's really an honor for me to serve them.
Mhm.
And so I've served in the women's section as well as the children's.
Right.
You know, Bethlehem.
Bethlehem, yeah. That's a famous
Lord's,
center.
right?
Yes.
Yes,
And Lord's
yes.
and Lord's Place
Lord's Place, right.
and Good Shepherd.
Jacob's Well?
No, not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay, you'll get there.
Uh-huh. And Good Shepherd.
Okay.
And I can't say that, like I said, I can't just explain it enough how
Mhm. Yeah.
how this has brought me joy and just my love just flowing to everybody
Mhm.
and taking care of them.
Wonderful, Carol. Ronald, what
Yes.
brought you to Jamaica?
Well, I
Kingston?
tell you, I wanted to do mission
Mhm.
work.
Yes.
And first of all, I'm not Catholic. I'm
Mhm. Which church you
Protestant.
belong to?
I belong to World Changers at the
Okay.
Church International.
And how did you get in touch with
Well, I
MOP?
happened to see your program maybe a year or so ago.
Okay.
And I had wanted to do missionary work, but I
Yes.
have significant illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been difficult for me to go through my church.
Mm-hmm.
They have an excellent missionary program, but
Mhm.
due to my age and health concerns,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. So when I saw your program,
Mm-hmm.
it was like an answer to my prayers.
Great.
So I
Wonderful.
contacted the missionary people and
Yes.
scheduled it and
Mhm.
was able to fly down and
Yes.
join you
Wonderful.
during the period of my vacation. So I had 3 weeks vacation. I took 2 of them, one in Florida, one in St. Martin, and took one here.
And which
So-
is the best?
Well, I tell you, I think this by far is the best.
Okay. Wonderful.
Because I've been able to experience a desire that I've had for many years.
Yes.
And I've been able to receive love and give love
Mhm.
in a way that I never thought possible.
Mhm.
So this is by far the best.
Yes. Great. Yes. Jim, you're a veteran of this. You've been here how many times?
This is my 5th year
Yes.
down here.
And is it repetitive? Do you find it?
No. There's always something different, something new, something old, but it's like renewing. It's not only working with the residents and with the brothers, whom I think are absolutely fantastic. I've said this before. The attitude of the brothers is just plain marvelous and very infectious. We spend a lot of time praying because we follow the daily
The
routine of the
timetable.
brothers. And so we are seeing a lot of me time and prayer time. And it's like a spiritual renewal
Right.
each year for me. And so I welcome the opportunity to come down. I like to see some of the residents that I know and have gotten to know. I like to work with the brothers and continue to see their growth and what they do. So it's very, very rewarding when I go back. People ask me, well, what did you do? Well, I sort of tell them what I did, what I didn't do. And sometimes it's little simple things. Today I worked in the soup kitchen. And the brothers have a soup kitchen on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And basically all I was doing was chopping up vegetables and stuff and putting things together, which is something else I like to do, but it's something I can do down here.
Yes.
And be part of the brothers' work and be part of their basic attitude and helping others. And they can do it with such happiness. I mean,
Work that
It-
seems to be difficult and
difficult work,
testing. Yeah.
and yet they all have smiles, and there's another prerequisite they all have to have.
Yes. Joyful
have-
service.
They have to sing. and it's wonderful to hear a Gregorian chant at some monastery or anything, but when you come down here and hear the litany of the word with a Bob Marley reggae beat, it's just awesome.
It's different.
It's awesome.
Jim, you brought a team of people from All Saints.
All Saints in Dunwoody, Georgia.
Dunwoody, Georgia.
It's a suburb of Atlanta.
Right, and I think they're in the audience here, most of them.
Yes, they are.
Perhaps they may want to share something with us. The mic is there. Anyone?
My name is Lynn Leffler.
Yeah.
I came with Carol Skyber.
Okay, from Chicago.
I actually came from a small town north of St. Louis, but
Okay.
I had lived in Chicago for a long time.
Yes.
I'm a relatively new Catholic. I was baptized Baptist, but I was born Catholic.
Okay. Figure that out.
I have found this to be the most rewarding experience of my life.
Yes.
It really fills me with tears. But I wanted to say one thing. I had told my friends, and they asked me why I was coming here and what I was doing, and the answer I got was, why? And it's like I wanted to serve. But one thing I found out, I said, I want to serve, I want to get it out of my system. When I was laying in bed last night, I realized you don't get it out of your system. It's in you forever. And once it's in you, you're going to continue.
Yes.
And it's just been my pleasure to be here. And I thank you so much.
You know, Jesus says, the measure you give will be measured back to you. And in that same reading in Matthew's Gospel, he says, shaken together, flowing over, running over will be poured into the hem of your garment. That's the context. For the measure you give will be measured back to you. I think that's the point, that the more we give, the more we receive. So it's a constant flow of God's love and His grace and His mercy and His goodness that we just don't realize is there for us. You know, we are told to keep and to hang on and to guard and to covet and not to share. But the more we share, the more we receive. That's my experience also. You know, so what you're saying is very, very, very true. You know, it's
I have found God more in this last week than I have in my entire spiritual experience.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. Thank you.
My name's Randy Russell, and I'm also part of the All Saints group.
Yes.
You know, it was, I guess, an act of love that brings me here, but then it's something that you digest and you realize that there's all different depths and kinds of love that you can be able to share. We were told a lot about how much the residents just want to be touched and connected to and felt as if they were valuable. But there's so many intimate things that happen. Like yesterday, I'm shaving a guy's face that, I mean, his face it's enormous on one side. It's his. And it's difficult to be able to get through these things. And as I'm getting through some of these things, I'm making faces, you know, for him to do things, and I realize what I'm doing. And then he just breaks out in the biggest laugh, and it's like we're just having such a great time laughing at each other because he can't help making his face, and I'm just getting through the motions of what I'm doing with mine.
Yes.
Today we were at Lord's house. And we're doing the Station of the Cross, and there's a little girl, young girl beside me in a wheelchair, and she doesn't really communicate, and can't move around, and next thing you know, I've got a hand reaching for my hand, and the whole time going through the Stations of the Cross, she's holding my hand and getting in between every place on my hand is just expressing love through touch. And if that doesn't get inside of you, then
nothing would.
Yeah, you know, then there's, you know, and it's versions of those simple little acts that just create so much harmony and helps you understand your ability to love and receive love, and that's the beauty of what happens here.
We all have it, you know, that's so marvelous. Every single human being is capable of loving. It's just that we have to give ourselves a break, you know, and do it. Yes.
Hi, I'm Ron Burbank, also from the Atlanta group.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that struck me as interesting from my own personal experience is before coming down, this was my first trip here, and I was really quite concerned about it. I mean, all the things that you don't know pile up in your mind as opposed to, you know, what is this really going to be like? The thing I wanted to express is that I think whoever designed this did a marvelous job. Others have alluded to, but I think of it as the integration of the spirituality and the service, and they feed on each other. I think many of us, at least for me, came down because the big deal is I'm going to serve. The biggest deal for me has been the spirituality. The second biggest deal for me has been what we get out of serving. And the far third, as far as I'm concerned, is what we're giving, because we all feel we're not giving enough. We're not sure if we're really worthwhile, whether this action or that one was valuable enough and help. But I think we all feel, boy, did we get a lot out of that interchange. So whoever designed it did a marvelous job.
Well, God designed it, I think.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Next. Thank you.
Though I walk through the fire of hell, my Jesus, death be at my side. Oh, the fire shall never, 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 never.
Hi, my name's Vanessa. I'm from Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
So I came here on my own and I met all these lovely people while I was here. And the reason I found out about MOP is because my friends from church support the mission in the Philippines.
Right.
And that's how I became familiar with it. But it wasn't until Father Holang came to our church in August last year and was a guest speaker that just feeling the passion and the genuine love he has for the poor, it made me confident to say, this is the mission that I want to go volunteer and serve to. Now that I'm here, it's gone beyond just really serving. It's, you look back and you realize how often we ask God for that happiness. And you think you can find happiness by asking for specific things, requests, you know, well, maybe if you give me this or if you help this happen. But not until I was here, I realized how he answered my prayers by sending me here and giving me true happiness here. You don't realize how much your mind is cluttered with unnecessary things back home until you come here and you stop, you pray, you do adoration, you do daily mass, and then you go and serve the poorest of the poor, and you're happier than you ever could imagine. And you realize this is the secret to happiness. So thank you so much for giving me that answer and giving me the opportunity to find it.
Yes, you're welcome. Yes. Anyone else? I think, yes, in front.
Well, today we were at Faith Center. You don't have to stand. And it was an amazing thing. I had been there last year. This is only my second year. And I had a different experience. This time I was in the ICU, and I really got to know all 8 of those people very personally, intimately, I think. And we worked all day. It was such a special time for a number of us. And after the morning, we were called to prayer in the chapel. And that, I think, is a wonderful gift that the brothers give to us, and just the MOP in general, that no matter how busy you are, and we never stopped all morning. We could hardly take a breath. And then we stop, and we breathe, and we pray. And then we go to lunch and have this wonderful experience together and share a meal. And there's a calmness, there's a serenity that I just really felt today that it's so important to know you can stop. Our work is never done, and that's what our Lord said. And so
it's His work. It's His work, and He gives the energy to do it. You know, He really does. And then the peace comes. You know, and you can work until you can work no more. You know, but as you say, that peace comes from the constant giving of oneself. You know, that you can't get from just being quiet or being separate from everybody else, but from encountering the struggles and the sufferings and the pain and the joy and the presence of others. That's what the peace that Jesus talks about in the scriptures, I think. You know, a peace that you can find in the world, that we sort of create by, you know, distancing ourselves from everybody else and being alone in our comfort zones, that famous cliche. But no, I think the peace comes from being with others, you know, even in their suffering, you know, but out of love and concern. I think that peace is what you experience, you know. So thanks a lot for sharing. Back to our panel, Ronald.
Yes.
Any parting words about how to spend a good holiday?
Well, yes. As you said, giving. I've had a lot of fruitfulness through my business experiences, and we have many possessions. But it's through my giving here and giving to others that has really been so beneficial to me.
Yes.
It's been so great to become intimate with people whose needs so greatly surpass my own, that I can feed into and give to and see how much they appreciate it and how much I get as a result. So my vacations will definitely include a period of time where I can spend in a process such as this, giving and receiving. It's just been a wonderful experience for me.
Great, Ronald. Thank you. Carol, we plan another trip again?
I will be back.
Yes,
I will be back. This is, after day one, I realized this was the kind of work I was called to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. What would you tell your family back home or your parish? What would you be able to share with them?
I'll share with them. As I said before, this incredible, the calling to listen to what God has to say. Sometimes you have to, as my pastor used to say, quiet yourselves, but listen to what God has to say and to respond to that. It seems like whenever I do some reflection and I think, dear Lord, you know, what do you have for me today? I'm listening, and then, you know, this comes up, and it's like, well, how can I refuse? And also as we talked about, the joy of service and the just the love, just the incredible love that flows out of you, and the love that comes back to you, and the joy.
So we'll see you next year.
Yes.
Please God. Jim, what about you?
Oh, I'll be back next
parting
year.
words, yes?
I fell in love with this place 5 years ago, and I look forward to coming down. I look forward to seeing the attitude of the brothers, and I love to see the happy faces of the residents. That's something else that, you know, how crippled they are in mind and body, many of them, and yet they're happy. They have found a place, the place has found them, has taken them in, and they respect their life, and they work awfully hard to see them get a life and to enjoy what life they can have. And you know, it's Father Holong will talk about the poorest of the poor, and he hooked me about 7 years ago when he came to Atlanta And I heard him, and I said, okay, at some point in time, I'm going to try and get down and see what it's all about. And I came, I've seen, and I'm coming back.
It's wonderful.
It's
Jesus
just
says
being
this-
part of it.
The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And that has many interpretations, you know. But I think one interpretation I can share is the weakness of the flesh. You know, the sickness, the poverty, the old age, the disease, all afflict us in different ways, you know, at different times.
Yep.
But the spirit is always willing
Yep.
to experience the happiness and joy and the love and the peace.
I hope as long as I can, I'm going to be
if
coming
God-
back to.
If you allow God to do that, you know, despite the weakness of our flesh, He wants to fill us with His Spirit.
To share
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
and to be part of it. And it's a double dose of helping and spirituality.
Yes.
And I think that's, as I said before, a renewal each year when I come down here and listen to Father Mac with his homily this
Homilies.
morning. And I mean, it's beautiful. And listen to you. I've heard you speak. And it's beautiful. And it renews me. And cleanses me, and then I get a chance to give some of that back to the residents, and go home and be a better person.
Yes. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Ronald, for
Thank
sharing
you.
so deeply. And audience, thanks for sharing so all the way from Australia, and Chicago, and Atlanta. So thanks again, and we'll meet again.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And God bless you all on the Church and the Poor.